When I saw myself trending on Twitter with 4.3 million views, I was setting mashed potatoes on our dining table, completely unaware that my mother had just ended my career, my relationship, and any chance I had at a normal life. My name is Zoey, and I'm 28 years old. Well, I was 28 when this nightmare began. I'm the kind of person who always tried to do everything right, you know? Get good grades, stay out of trouble, make my parents proud. And where did that get me? Living in my childhood bedroom in Naperville, Illinois, working a job that barely paid my bills, and desperately trying to convince myself that everything would work out eventually. Before we go any further, quick question. Where are you listening from right now? Drop your city or state in the comments. I love knowing where my stories reach, and honestly, after what happened to me, I realized we're all dealing with toxic family members no matter where we live. So let me know where you're from. But let me back up to that Thursday morning, November 23rd, 2023. Thanksgiving Day. The day everything fell apart. I'd been living with my parents for 8 months. At 28, it wasn't exactly where I pictured myself, but my apartment lease had ended and I was trying to save for a down payment on a condo in downtown Chicago. My job as a junior marketing associate at Henderson and Price didn't exactly pay enough to cover city rent and build savings at the same time. My boyfriend Marcus, a surgical resident at Northwestern Memorial, said he understood. We'd been together for 3 years, and the plan was solid. I'd save money, he'd finish his residency, and we'd move in together. Simple. Practical. Safe. Except nothing about my life was safe when my mother was involved. And if you're already feeling this story, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button right now. Because what my mother did to me that Thanksgiving was just the beginning, and trust me, you're going to want to follow this journey all the way to the end. The revenge I got was so perfectly executed that even I'm still shocked I pulled it off. So subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's continue. My relationship with my mother, Patricia, had always been complicated. That's the polite word therapists use when they mean toxic but don't want to scare you off in the first session. She was 52, worked part-time at a real estate office, and had an opinion about absolutely everything I did. My clothes were too tight. My job wasn't impressive enough. Marcus was fine, but nothing special. My hair needed highlights. I should lose 15 pounds. Just constant little cuts that bled me dry so slowly I didn't even realize I was dying inside. My dad, Richard, was different. Quiet. A high school chemistry teacher who'd emotionally checked out of his marriage decades ago. He spent most evenings in the garage building intricate model ships that he never showed anyone. Looking back, I realized he was just surviving, waiting for retirement, so he could finally file for divorce and breathe. But that Thursday, he was just the man who would carve the turkey and say nothing while my world burned down around me. Then there was my younger sister, Madison, 24 years old, getting her PhD in psychology at University of Chicago, engaged to a corporate lawyer named Brandon, and absolutely perfect in every single way according to our mother. She was thinner than me, prettier than me, more successful at a younger age, and she knew it. The way she looked at me had evolved over the years from sisterly competition to something much worse. Pity. That look destroyed me more than any of Mom's direct insults ever could. Thanksgiving was always at our house. Mom insisted on it. Called it tradition, though what she really meant was that it gave her a stage to perform on, an audience to impress. And God, did she perform. The dining room looked like something out of a magazine. Martha Stewart would have wept tears of joy. Everything matched. The burnt orange table runner, the cream-colored candles, the fall-themed centerpieces with miniature pumpkins and copper leaves that probably cost more than my car payment. I'd been cooking since 6 that morning. The turkey, the stuffing, the green bean casserole, the sweet potato pie, the cranberry sauce made from scratch because God forbid we use the canned stuff like normal people. Marcus was supposed to arrive at 2. Madison and Brandon were due at 1:30. Mom's sister, Aunt Carol, and her husband were coming around 2:15. It was 1:47 when it happened. I was bent over the dining table, arranging the place settings for what felt like the 700th time because Mom had insisted the salad fork was too close to the dinner fork. Some microscopic distance issue that only she could see. I was wearing my nicest outfit, a burgundy sweater dress that Marcus had bought me for my birthday, black tights and ankle boots. I'd actually felt pretty that morning. I'd curled my hair, put on makeup, even used that expensive perfume Marcus had given me last Christmas. For once, I thought maybe I looked like I belonged in this perfect-looking family. I didn't hear Mom come up behind me with her phone. "Zoey, honey, can you reach that centerpiece? I think it's off-center." I leaned further across the table, stretching to adjust the stupid miniature pumpkin arrangement. That's when I felt it. That awareness you get when someone's watching you. That prickle on the back of your neck that tells you something's wrong. I glanced back. Mom had her phone up, recording me. "Mom, what are you?" "Just keep fixing it, sweetie. You're doing great." Something in her voice made my stomach drop. It was too sweet, too performative, like she was reading lines from a script. This wasn't a family memory being captured. This was something else, something darker. I straightened up immediately. "Can you stop recording me, please?" "Oh, don't be so sensitive. I'm just capturing our Thanksgiving prep." She was smiling, but her eyes were cold, dead. She lowered the phone and walked toward the kitchen, her thumbs already moving across the screen, typing something. That feeling you get when something's wrong but you can't quite articulate what it is. That was churning in my gut like poison. But Madison was about to arrive, and I still had to whip the cream for the pie, so I did what I always did. I pushed it down, buried it with all the other uncomfortable feelings I'd spent 28 years learning to ignore. The doorbell rang at 1:52. Madison, and Brandon arrived with expensive wine and that particular brand of couple smugness that makes single people want a day drink. She looked perfect in a cream cashmere sweater and designer jeans that probably cost more than my entire outfit. Brandon was tall, handsome in that generic way all corporate lawyers seem to be, and he greeted everyone with firm handshakes like he was closing business deals. "Zoey, oh my God," Madison said, looking me up and down slowly. "That dress is so cute. Very comfortable. Translation, you look fat in it." Marcus arrived 10 minutes later, apologizing profusely. Emergency at the hospital. A kid had come in with suspicious bruising, and he'd had to wait for child services. He kissed me quickly, handed Dad a bottle of bourbon, and settled into the uncomfortable small talk that marked all our family gatherings. We sat down to eat at 2:30. That's when my phone started buzzing. And buzzing. And buzzing. At first, I ignored it. Mom had a strict no phones at dinner policy that she enforced with guilt trips and passive-aggressive comments about kids these days. But the buzzing wouldn't stop. It was constant, relentless, like a swarm of bees had taken up residence in my purse across the room. "Zoey, your phone," Mom said, her voice dripping with disapproval. "This is family time." "I know, I'm sorry, Marcus leaned over and whispered, to silence it. "It's probably work emails or something." But the buzzing continued. My Apple Watch lit up with notification after notification after notification. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, text messages from numbers I didn't even recognize. My heart started pounding. "Excuse me," I mumbled, standing up so fast I nearly knocked over my water glass. I grabbed my phone and practically ran to the bathroom. I locked the door behind me, hands shaking as I unlocked my phone. The screen was flooded with notifications. Hundreds of them. Thousands. I opened Twitter first. The top trending topic in the United States was #Thanksgiving fails. And there, with 4.3 million views and climbing, was me. The video Mom had taken. But it wasn't just the video. She'd added a caption that made my blood freeze in my veins. "When your 28-year-old daughter still lives at home, can't find a real career, and has gained so much weight she can barely fit into her clothes. Happy Thanksgiving from the Ferguson family. #Thanksgiving fails, #parenting adult children, #reality check." In the video, you could see my dress riding up slightly as I bent over the table. The angle made me look heavier than I was. Way heavier. My face was strained with concentration, my body awkward and unflattering. And the way she'd edited it, adding a zooming effect on my body, on my thighs, on my stomach, made it deliberately, cruelly humiliating. The comments were devastating. "Imagine being this much of a disappointment to your family skull. The mom is savage for posting this. Laugh my ass out. Why is she dressed like that if she's that big? This is sad. Some people really need to get their lives together." That mom said, "You're embarrassing me online, so I'll embarrass you." There were thousands of them. Tens of thousands. The video had been shared by major comedy accounts, drama pages, gossip blogs. Even a few news aggregators had picked it up with headlines like "Mom's brutal Thanksgiving call-out goes viral" and "Is this mom a hero or a villain?" I couldn't breathe. My chest felt like someone had wrapped steel bands around it and was pulling them tighter and tighter. My hands were shaking so badly, I nearly dropped my phone in the toilet. Someone knocked on the bathroom door. "Zoey, you okay in there?" Marcus's voice, concerned and gentle. I opened the door with trembling hands. He took one look at my face, at the tears streaming down my cheeks, at the way I was struggling to breathe, and his expression shifted from concern to alarm. "What's wrong? Are you sick? Do you need?" I couldn't speak. I just showed him the phone. I watched his face change as he read the caption, watched the video, scrolled through the comments. His jaw tightened. His eyes went dark with something I'd never seen before. Rage. Pure, unfiltered rage. "Jesus Christ," he whispered. "Zoey, this is... Your mom posted this." I nodded, unable to form words. "I'm going to..." He started toward the dining room, but I grabbed his arm. "Don't. Please. I need a minute." But we didn't have a minute, because Madison appeared in the hallway, her phone in her hand, her expression a mixture of shock and something else. Something that looked almost like satisfaction, like she was watching a car crash she'd been expecting for years. "Zoey, oh my God, are you seeing this? Mom's video is everywhere. Brandon just showed me. It's on TMZ's Twitter. TMZ, Zoey. They're calling it the most savage mom moment of the year." Her voice had this edge to it. Not quite sympathy, more like fascination. Like I was a science experiment gone wrong and she was taking notes. I pushed past both of them and walked back into that dining room like I was walking toward my own execution. My legs felt like they belonged to someone else. My whole body was numb except for my face, which was burning with shame and rage and something darker. Everyone was still eating. Dad was methodically cutting his turkey into perfect little squares, the way he always did. Aunt Carol was complimenting the stuffing. Mom was laughing at something Brandon said, her wine glass half empty, playing the role of perfect hostess like she hadn't just destroyed her daughter's life for internet points. "Mom," I said. My voice was shaking but loud. "Can I talk to you in the kitchen?" She looked up, her face the picture of innocence. Wide eyes, concerned expression, Academy Award-worthy performance. "Sweetheart, we're in the middle of dinner. Can it wait?" "No, it can't." Something in my tone made everyone stop eating. Forks frozen in midair. Conversations dying mid-sentence. The whole room went silent. Mom sighed dramatically, like I was being such an inconvenience, set down her fork with deliberate slowness, and followed me into the kitchen. Madison came too, because of course she did. She never missed an opportunity to watch me fail. I held up my phone, the video playing on loop. "What the hell is this?" Mom barely glanced at it. "Oh, that? It's just a silly little video, honey. Don't be so dramatic. It has over 4 million views. You called me a disappointment. You said I can't find a real career. You humiliated me in front of the entire internet." I did no such thing. I simply posted a funny moment from our Thanksgiving prep. If you're embarrassed, maybe you should think about why you're so sensitive about your weight and your living situation. Maybe this is the wake-up call you needed. The gaslighting was so smooth, so practiced, so effortless that for a second I almost believed her. Almost thought maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was being too sensitive. Maybe this was my fault. Then Madison spoke, and I'll never forget it because it was the first time she'd ever defended me. "Mom, this is pretty bad. People are saying terrible things about Zoey. Really terrible things. Maybe you should delete it." Mom turned to her, and for a flash of a second, I saw something dark cross her face. Something ugly. "Madison, stay out of this. Your sister needs to learn that actions have consequences. She's been coasting through life, living here rent-free, barely contributing to this household. I pay you $800 a month." I shouted, my voice breaking. "Which doesn't even cover the food you eat." The words hit me like a physical slap. I actually stumbled backward. Marcus appeared in the doorway, his face red with anger. "Mrs. Ferguson, I think you need to delete that video right now. What you've done is cruel and frankly, it's abusive." Mom's face transformed. The mask of the perfect, concerned mother cracked like thin ice, and what came through underneath was pure, undiluted rage. How dare you come into my home and tell me how to parent my child? Zoey is 28 years old. She's overweight, underemployed, and still clinging to me like a child. I have every right to express my frustration with her life choices. That's when it happened. I don't remember deciding to do it, but suddenly, I was holding her phone. I'd snatched it right out of her hand. "Give that back to me right now," Mom hissed, her voice low and dangerous. "Delete the video first." "Zoey, Patricia Ferguson, give me my phone this instant." "Delete the video." And then, in front of Marcus, Madison, and God, my mother slapped me across the face. The crack echoed through the kitchen like a gunshot. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Time seemed to stop completely. My cheek was on fire. I could taste blood where my lip had split against my teeth. My ear was ringing. But worse than the physical pain was the shock. The absolute, complete shock that my mother had just hit me. "Patricia!" My dad's voice, sharp and horrified in a way I'd never heard before. He'd appeared in the doorway along with Aunt Carol and her husband, all of them frozen in horror. Mom looked around at the room full of people staring at her with disgust, betrayal, anger. And I watched her recalibrate. I watched the performance come back online. She stole my phone and refused to give it back. What was I supposed to do? She was being hysterical. But nobody was buying it this time. Not even Dad, who'd spent 3 decades buying every lie she sold. Marcus gently took my shoulders and steered me toward the front door. "We're leaving. Zoey, get your things. Now." I moved like a zombie, grabbed my purse, my coat, my keys. My hands weren't shaking anymore. I felt completely numb, disconnected from my body. As we walked out the door, I heard Madison's voice, shaky and confused. "Mom, what the hell is wrong with you?" And my mother's response, dripping with victimhood. "This is exactly the kind of dramatic behavior I was talking about. She's always been this way, always making everything about her." Marcus drove me to his apartment. He held me while I cried, brought me ice for my face, suggested at least 5 times that I should press charges for assault. But I was too numb, too humiliated, too broken. The video was still up, still climbing in views. By Friday morning, it had 8.2 million views. News outlets were writing articles. Thanksgiving Mom's controversial video sparks debate about adult children living at home. Some supported her, called her brave for speaking the truth about entitled millennials. Others called her a monster. My boss called Friday afternoon. Her voice was careful, measured. "Zoey, hi. I wanted to check in with you. The video has been shared in the company's Slack channel. Several clients have seen it and mentioned it. Maybe take some time off. Let this blow over." I knew what that meant. I was being fired without being fired. Marcus was incredible at first. He said I could stay with him as long as I needed, offered to pay for therapy, told me I was beautiful and successful, and my mother was toxic and abusive, and this wasn't my fault. But I could see it in his eyes. The way he looked at me had changed. I wasn't his confident, put-together girlfriend anymore. I was broken, damaged. The girl whose mother had humiliated her in front of 9 million people and counting. We broke up 3 weeks later, December 14th. Right before Christmas. He was kind about it, said it wasn't about the video. It was about timing, about his residency, about needing to focus on his career. But I knew. I'd become a liability, an embarrassment, a walking reminder that sometimes families are cruel and life is unfair. I moved into a studio apartment in Schaumburg that I could barely afford. 400 square feet, 1 window. Picked up a job at Target to supplement whatever freelance marketing work I could scrape together. My mother called twice, both times to tell me I was overreacting and needed to apologize for ruining Thanksgiving and making her look bad. I didn't call her back. Madison reached out a few times. Awkward texts asking if I was okay, if I needed anything. I didn't respond. What was there to say? For 3 months, I was just surviving, treading water, barely functioning, going through the motions of being alive without actually living. And then, on a gray Tuesday in February, something happened that changed everything. I was scrolling through my email on my lunch break at Target, sitting in my car in the parking lot, eating a sad turkey sandwich I'd made that morning. deleting spam, unsubscribing from promotional emails I didn't remember signing up for. The usual digital housekeeping that fills the empty spaces of a broken life. That's when I saw something in my junk folder that made me pause. An email from someone named Angela Martinez. Subject line: About your mother, Patricia Ferguson. I almost deleted it. My finger was literally hovering over the trash icon. I figured it was some internet troll who'd found my email address from the video drama, someone looking to pile on more humiliation for their own entertainment. But something made me open it. Maybe it was desperation. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was just that I had nothing left to lose. The email read, Dear Zoey, you don't know me, but I know your mother. Or rather, I know what she did to my family. I saw the video she posted of you, and I recognized her immediately. My name is Angela Martinez, and 5 years ago, your mother destroyed my marriage. I'm reaching out because I think you deserve to know the truth about who she really is. If you're willing to meet, I have documents, recordings, and evidence that will change everything you think you know about Patricia Ferguson. I live in Aurora. There's a coffee shop called the Daily Grind on Route 59. I'll be there this Saturday at 2 p.m. if you want answers. Angela. I read it 17 times. My heart was pounding, so hard I could hear it in my ears. My hands started shaking again, that familiar tremor I developed since Thanksgiving. This could be a hoax. Could be some crazy person who'd latched onto the drama. Could be dangerous, even. Meeting a stranger from the internet who claimed to have dirt on my mother. But something in my gut told me it wasn't. Something in the way she wrote. The specificity. The pain I could feel bleeding through the words. I didn't respond to the email. Not right away. I spent 3 days obsessing over it. Googling Angela Martinez in Aurora, Illinois. I found her on Facebook. 45 years old. Married. 3 kids. Worked as a dental hygienist. She looked normal. Tired, but normal. Her profile was private, but her profile picture showed her smiling with her family at what looked like a graduation. Friday night, I finally wrote back. I'll be there. Saturday arrived cold and gray. February in Illinois is always depressing, but that day felt especially bleak. I drove to Aurora in my beat-up Honda Civic, my stomach churning with anxiety and something else. Hope maybe, or the desire for hope. The Daily Grind was a small coffee shop tucked into a strip mall between a dry cleaner and a nail salon. The kind of place where locals go to escape chain coffee shops. I arrived at 1:55. Angela Martinez was already there, sitting in a corner booth. She stood up when she saw me, and I recognized her immediately from her Facebook photo, though in person she looked older. More worn down. She had tired eyes with dark circles underneath and gray streaks in her black hair that she hadn't bothered to dye. Zoey, she asked. I nodded, suddenly unable to speak. Thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you would. She gestured to the booth. Please sit. Can I get you something? Coffee. No, I'm okay. I slid into the booth across from her, my hands clasped together on the table to stop them from shaking. She had a manila folder on the table. Thick. Stuffed with papers. I'm just going to say this straight, Angela began, her voice steady but filled with old pain. 5 years ago, I was married to David Martinez. We'd been together for 18 years. High school sweethearts. We had 3 kids. Twin boys who were 13 at the time, and a daughter who was 10. Our marriage wasn't perfect, but it was solid. We were happy. Until your mother sold us our house. My stomach dropped. I knew where this was going, but I needed to hear it. She was our real estate agent. She came highly recommended. Said she specialized in family homes in the Aurora area. She was charming, professional, friendly. She spent a lot of time with us, showing us properties, helping us negotiate. My husband really liked her. Said she was fun and easy to talk to. I didn't think anything of it. Angela's voice cracked slightly. She took a sip of her coffee. Until I found text messages on his phone. She opened the folder and slid photos across the table. Screenshots of text messages between my mother and David Martinez. The timestamps were from 5 years ago. February through October. The messages started professional. Then friendly. Then flirty. Then explicit. I felt like I was going to throw up. When did we close on the house? Oh right, you're coming back to measure the master bedroom again. I can't stop thinking about Thursday. You're incredible. My wife is at her book club tonight. Same hotel. There were dozens of them. Hundreds, maybe. I couldn't read them all. I could barely breathe. She seduced my husband, Angela said flatly. Deliberately. Calculatedly. They had an affair that lasted for 8 months. Hotel rooms in Joliet. Lunch meetings in Naperville that lasted 3 hours. Afternoons at her place when you were all at work or school. She knew he was married. She knew we had kids. She didn't care. How did it end? I whispered. I confronted him. October 15th, 5 years ago. I'll never forget that date. I gave him an ultimatum. Me and our family or her. He chose us. Cut off all contact with her. But the damage was done. The trust was destroyed. We spent 2 years in therapy. Our kids still don't know the real reason we almost got divorced. They just know that was a really bad time for our family. She slid more papers across the table. Hotel receipts, credit card statements with my mother's name on them, charges at restaurants in towns 30 miles away from Naperville. Receipts from Victoria's Secret, date stamped the same days as hotel visits. Why are you telling me this? I asked, though I already knew. Angela's eyes met mine, and they were filled with something fierce. Because I saw what she did to you. I saw that video. I saw how she humiliated her own daughter for clicks and likes and attention. And I realized she's the kind of person who destroys people without remorse, without conscience. I thought you deserved to know the truth about who she really is. That she's not the victim she pretends to be. That she's calculating and cruel and has been hurting people for years. She slid the last items from the folder across the table. More emails between her and my husband. A voicemail transcript that made my blood run cold. This is a voicemail she left David 3 days after I found out. After I'd already confronted him. After he'd already chosen to save our marriage. I read the transcript. David, you're making a huge mistake staying with that boring, frigid woman. She doesn't understand you like I do. She doesn't make you feel alive. Call me. We can figure this out. You know we're meant to be together. Angela is just holding you back from the life you deserve. The words were poison. Pure venom. Does my dad know? I asked, my voice barely audible. I don't know. I never contacted him. I thought about it. God, I thought about it so many times. But I didn't want to blow up another family. My own was barely surviving. I couldn't handle the guilt of destroying someone else's marriage, even if Patricia deserved it. I sat there staring at the evidence spread across the table. This wasn't just an affair. This was a pattern. My mother was a predator. There's something else, Angela said quietly. After I found out about the affair, I did some digging. Talked to other women whose husbands had worked with your mother. There were rumors, whispers. I couldn't prove anything, but I heard stories about at least 2 other married men she'd been involved with. One was another client. Another was someone from her real estate office. The world was tilting sideways. Everything I thought I knew about my mother was a lie. The perfect wife, the concerned parent, the upstanding member of the community. All of it was a mask hiding something monstrous. Can I have copies of all this? I asked. Angela smiled, and it was the saddest smile I'd ever seen. I was hoping you'd ask that. I made copies of everything. It's all yours. She handed me the entire folder. We sat there for another hour. Angela told me about the therapy. About explaining to her kids why Mommy and Daddy were fighting all the time. About the nights she couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't function. About rebuilding trust molecule by molecule over years. We're okay now, she said. Better, even. The affair forced us to really look at our marriage, communicate better, reconnect. But it nearly killed me. And your mother never apologized. Never acknowledged what she did. She just moved on to her next victim like we were nothing. When I left the daily grind at 4:30 that afternoon, I was a different person than the one who'd walked in. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, staring at the manila folder on my passenger seat. Then I made a phone call. Rick Paulson Investigations. How can I help you? Hi, my name is Zoey Ferguson. I need to hire a private investigator. I want to know everything about someone. Every secret. Every lie. Every person they've ever hurt. Can you do that? That's what we do, ma'am. When can you come in? I drove to his office in Lombard that same day. Rick Paulson was maybe 55, former Chicago PD, now running his own investigation firm specializing in infidelity and fraud cases. He looked like every TV detective you've ever seen. Weathered face, kind eyes, the demeanor of someone who'd seen everything and couldn't be shocked anymore. I laid out everything. The Thanksgiving video, the slap, Angela's evidence, my suspicions that there was more. I want to know everything. I told him. Every affair, every lie, every secret she's ever kept. I don't care how long it takes or what it costs. I need the truth. Rick studied me for a long moment. This is going to be expensive and painful. You sure you want to go down this road? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Okay then. Give me 3 weeks. I paid him $3,000 I didn't have. Put it on a credit card that was already maxed out. Didn't think twice. Those 3 weeks were the longest of my life. I went to work at Target, came home to my tiny studio apartment, ate ramen and canned soup, barely slept, just waited. Rick called me on a Tuesday. March 12th. I've got your report. You're going to want to sit down for this. I met him at his office that evening. The report was 47 pages long, and it destroyed everything. My mother hadn't just had an affair with David Martinez. Rick had confirmed 4 separate affairs over the past 15 years. 2 with clients she'd met through real estate. 1 with a colleague from her office named Brett Sullivan. 1 with the husband of a woman from her book club named Tom Chin. She'd lied about finances, hiding money in a separate bank account my father didn't know about. $85,000 skimmed from her commissions over the years. She'd sabotaged my sister Madison's first serious relationship when Madison was 19. Told the boyfriend, Jake, that Madison had cheated on him at college. She hadn't. Mom just thought Jake was beneath our family standards and wanted to break them up. She'd started a vicious rumor about Aunt Carol sleeping with her boss 3 years ago, nearly costing Carol her job, all because they'd had an argument about who was hosting Christmas. Page after page of documented cruelty, manipulation, lies. The woman I'd spent 28 years trying to please didn't exist. She was a fiction, a performance. Underneath was something much darker, something hollow and cruel and incapable of real love. I sat in Rick's office reading that report until almost midnight. I spent the next week compiling everything into a single folder. Angela's evidence, Rick's 47-page report, screenshots of the comments on the Thanksgiving video, medical photos I'd taken of my split lip and bruised face the day she slapped me. Then I created a private WordPress site, titled it The Truth About Patricia Ferguson. I laid it all out in devastating detail. Dates, photos, recordings, bank statements, everything. But I didn't publish it. Not yet. I looked at my calendar. November 2024 was 8 months away. Exactly 1 year after the video that broke me. Perfect. I had a Thanksgiving to plan. I was a different person now. Not the scared, broken girl who'd cried in Marcus's apartment. Not the humiliated daughter who'd let her mother define her worth for 28 years. I'd spent the last 8 months rebuilding myself from the ground up, and every brick I laid was mortared with purpose. I'd moved out of that depressing studio in Schaumburg into a decent 2-bedroom apartment in Wheaton. Used the last of my savings and took out a personal loan I'd spend years paying off. But I needed space. I needed a stage for what was coming. The 2nd bedroom became my war room, walls covered with printed emails, timelines, evidence. Everything organized. Everything documented. Everything ready. I'd gotten a new job, too. Digital marketing coordinator at a tech startup in downtown Chicago. Better pay. Better benefits. Better boss who didn't care about year-old internet drama. I was good at my work. Really good. Turns out when you channel rage into productivity, you become unstoppable. But more importantly, I'd become patient. Strategic. The old Zoey would have confronted Mom immediately, screamed and cried and demanded answers. The new Zoey understood that the best revenge is the kind that looks like justice. And justice requires witnesses. I sent my mother an email in late October. Carefully worded, perfectly calibrated to press every button I knew she had. Mom, I've had time to reflect on what happened last Thanksgiving, and I realize I overreacted. I was hurt and sensitive, and I lashed out when I should have listened to your concerns. You were right about a lot of things. I needed that wake-up call. I'd like to host Thanksgiving this year at my new apartment. A fresh start. An apology. Please come. I'm inviting the whole family. It would mean everything to me. Zoey. She called me within an hour. I was in a coffee shop when my phone rang, and I took a deep breath before answering. Zoey, sweetheart, I'm so glad you've come to your senses. Her voice was dripping with vindication. With I told you so satisfaction. Of course I'll come. Your father and I will be there. What can I bring? Just yourself, Mom. That's all I need. I knew you'd come around eventually. You just needed time to mature and see things clearly. I'm proud of you for taking responsibility. I smiled. She couldn't see it, but I smiled. Thanks, Mom. See you Thanksgiving. Over the next 2 weeks, I sent out invitations. But not just to family. I found David Martinez on LinkedIn. Sent him a carefully worded message. Hi, David. You don't know me, but I'm Patricia Ferguson's daughter. I'm hosting a gathering to address some serious issues involving my mother's behavior, and I believe you and your wife, Angela, deserve to be there. It's time for truth and accountability. Thursday, November 28th, 2 p.m., my address in Wheaton. I hope you'll come. He responded the same day. Angela told me about meeting you. We'll be there. I found Brett Sullivan, the colleague from Mom's real estate office. Sent a similar message. He was hesitant at first, but when I mentioned I had documented evidence of the affair and that his wife might want to know the truth, he agreed to come. Tom Chin was harder to track down, but I found him through his wife Linda's Facebook. Sent her a message. Linda, I have information about your husband and my mother that you need to see. I'm hosting a Thanksgiving gathering where the truth will finally come out. Please come. You deserve to know. She called me. We talked for an hour. She cried. She'd suspected something years ago, but Tom had denied it, and she convinced herself she was being paranoid. She said she'd be there. I invited the women from Mom's book club. Told them it was a surprise appreciation event for Patricia, celebrating her contributions to the community. They all RSVP'd yes. I invited colleagues from her real estate office. Told them it was a professional networking dinner with a personal touch. I invited Aunt Carol and her husband. Carol responded immediately. I've been waiting for this for 3 years. I invited Madison and Brandon. Told Madison, I need you there. I'm going to show everyone who Mom really is, and I need my sister. She was hesitant, scared, but she agreed. Dad was the hardest invitation to send. I called him directly. Zoey, it's good to hear from you. How are you doing? I'm good, Dad. Really good. Listen, I'm hosting Thanksgiving this year, and I need you there. By November 20th, I had 23 confirmed RSVPs. Family, affair victims, their spouses, book club members, work colleagues. Everyone who needed to see the truth. The apartment had never looked better. I decorated it carefully. Nothing over the top, just tasteful fall decorations. A long dining table I'd rented that could seat 12, with additional seating in the living room. I'd ordered catering from a local restaurant. Turkey, sides, desserts. Everything perfect. But the real centerpiece was the 65-inch TV mounted on my living room wall, connected to my laptop via HDMI cable. On that laptop was the WordPress site. The truth about Patricia Ferguson. Every page loaded and ready. Every document scanned and organized. Every timeline verified. I'd rehearsed my speech 17 times. Knew exactly what I was going to say. How I was going to say it. Where to pause for effect. Thanksgiving Day arrived cold and clear. Chicago November weather at its finest. Gray skies but no snow yet. I woke up at 6 a.m. Made coffee. Sat in my war room looking at all the evidence one last time. Photos of hotel receipts. Bank statements showing the hidden account. Text message screenshots. Angela's testimony. Rick's report. The medical photo of my bruised face from last year. People started arriving at 1 p.m. My mother and father were first. Mom brought wine and her signature sweet potato casserole, the same one from last year. She was dressed impeccably. Cream-colored sweater, dark slacks, pearl earrings. The costume of respectability. She kissed my cheek. Darling, your apartment is lovely. Small, but you've decorated it nicely. Still couldn't help herself with the backhanded compliments. Dad hugged me tight and whispered in my ear, I'm proud of you. Madison and Brandon arrived next. Madison looked nervous. She kept glancing at me, trying to read my face, figure out what was coming. I gave her a small smile. She'd understand soon. Then the others started trickling in. Angela and David Martinez with their 3 kids. Mom's face when she saw David walk through the door was priceless. Shock, confusion, then rapid calculation. "David, what are you doing here?" Her voice was strained, trying to sound casual. "Zoey invited us," Angela said coolly, her arm linked through her husband's. "We wouldn't miss this for the world." Brett Sullivan arrived with his wife Jennifer. Mom's face went pale. Tom and Linda Chun. Linda's jaw was set, her eyes hard. The book club ladies. Mom's colleague from the real estate office, Karen, who'd always suspected something but never had proof. Aunt Carol and her husband. Rick Paulson, my private investigator, who I'd asked to attend as a witness. By 1:45, my apartment was full. 23 people crammed into my living room and dining area. The energy was strange. Tense. People who shouldn't know each other making awkward small talk. Mom kept cornering me in the kitchen. "Zoey, what is this? Why are all these people here? Why is David Martinez in your apartment?" "It's Thanksgiving, Mom. A time for family and friends and gratitude. And truth." Her eyes narrowed. She was starting to understand. "Zoey, what are you doing?" "Setting the table." At 2 p.m. sharp, I asked everyone to gather in the living room. My hands were steady. My voice was calm. I'd waited a year for this moment. "Thank you all for coming," I began. "I know this is an unusual Thanksgiving gathering. Some of you know why you're here. Others are about to find out. Last year at this time, my mother Patricia Ferguson recorded a video of me setting the Thanksgiving table and posted it online. The video went viral. 4.3 million views. It humiliated me, cost me my job and my relationship. It broke something fundamental in me. I looked directly at my mother. Her face was pale. She was gripping her wine glass, so hard I thought it might shatter. 4 months after that, I wanted revenge. I wanted to hurt her the way she'd hurt me. I wanted to destroy her life the way she destroyed mine. Mom tried to interrupt. "Zoey, this is ridiculous." But then I realized something important. I continued, talking over her. "Revenge is just pain, continuing pain. It doesn't heal anything. It doesn't fix anything. So instead of revenge, I decided on something different. I decided on truth. I picked up the remote and turned on the TV. The WordPress site loaded. The truth about Patricia Ferguson, in large letters at the top. Everything on this site is documented, verified, and accurate. I have receipts. I have recordings. I have bank statements. I have testimony from multiple witnesses. And I have a year's worth of investigation by a licensed private investigator. I clicked to the first page. Hotel receipts from 5 years ago. Patricia Ferguson and David Martinez. Joliet Hilton. 8 different dates. Angela stood up. "Patricia, you told my husband you were unhappily married. You said your husband was abusive. You said you loved him and wanted to build a life together. You destroyed my marriage for 8 months of cheap hotel rooms and lies." David's voice was quiet but firm. "You knew I had 3 kids. You didn't care." I clicked to the next page. Text messages between Mom and Brett Sullivan. Explicit. Undeniable. Brett's wife Jennifer stood up, tears streaming down her face. "When? When did this happen?" 3 years ago," I said softly. "For 6 months. Brett, we were trying to have a baby then. I was doing IVF. You were having an affair while I was getting hormone injections." Mom tried to leave, actually headed for the door. But Aunt Carol stepped in front of it. "No," Carol said firmly. "You don't get to run this time. You don't get to play victim and gaslight everyone. Sit down and face what you've done." I clicked through more pages. The Tom and Linda Chin affair. The hidden bank account with $85,000. Screenshots of Mom telling Madison's boyfriend Jake that Madison had cheated, complete with the follow-up messages where Jake broke up with Madison. Madison was sobbing. "You destroyed my relationship with Jake? I loved him, Mom. We were going to get married. You told me he wasn't ready for commitment, that he broke up with me because he wanted to date other people. You lied to my face while I cried in your arms." I showed the evidence of Mom's rumor about Aunt Carol. Emails she'd sent to other book club members. "Just so you know, Carol's been having an affair with her boss Richard. I saw them at lunch together. So inappropriate. She's putting her whole family at risk. Aunt Carol's voice was shaking. I almost lost my job because of that rumor. My marriage went through hell. Richard and I spent 6 months in counseling because people kept telling him I was cheating. And it was you. You started that lie because I said we should rotate Christmas hosting duties. The evidence kept coming. Page after page. Affair after affair. Lie after lie. Manipulation after manipulation. The book club ladies were whispering among themselves, their faces shocked and disgusted. Karen from the real estate office was shaking her head. Patricia, how many clients? How many married men did you go after? My father just sat there, staring at my mother like she was a complete stranger. His face was blank, empty. Finally, after 20 minutes of documented truth, my mother turned to me. Her face was twisted with rage and fear and something else. Desperation. You did this. You ruined my life for a stupid video. The room went silent. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I felt nothing. No anger, no pain, just cold, clear truth. No, Mom. You ruined your own life by being a terrible person for decades. I just made sure everyone knew the truth. You humiliated me in front of millions of people. You hit me. You cost me my job, my relationship, my sense of self. And you never apologized. Not once. You blamed me for being too sensitive. You vindictive little. She lunged at me, hands outstretched like claws. Rick Paulson stepped between us instantly. I wouldn't do that, ma'am. There are a lot of witnesses here, and you already have one documented assault on your record. Mom looked around the room. 23 faces staring at her with disgust, betrayal, anger, disappointment. I'm your mother, she whispered to me, her voice breaking. How could you do this to me? You posted a video that made me want to die, I said quietly. You spent my entire life making me feel worthless. You destroyed other people's marriages. You manipulated everyone around you. You lied and cheated and hurt people without remorse. And you asked me how I could do this. My father stood up. His voice was steady. Final. Patricia, get your things. We're leaving. When we get home, I want you out of the house. I'm filing for divorce Monday morning. Richard, you can't be serious. I should have done this 20 years ago. Get your things. Now. They left. Mom was crying, trying to explain, making excuses. Dad didn't look at her. Just walked out with his coat and car keys. Slowly, the others started to leave. Most stopped to hug me, to thank me, to say they were sorry they hadn't known, hadn't helped, hadn't seen. Angela was the last to leave. You okay? I nodded. I think so. For the first time in a year, I think I'm actually okay. What you did was brave, and terrifying, and maybe a little crazy. Yeah, all of that. She hugged me tight. She can't hurt you anymore. After everyone left, I sat alone in my apartment. The catered food mostly uneaten. The decorations suddenly seeming absurd. The TV still showing the WordPress site. I should have felt victorious, triumphant. Instead, I just felt free. The WordPress site stayed up for 3 weeks before I took it down. But by then, screenshots had spread everywhere. Reddit threads, Twitter discussions, Facebook groups dedicated to toxic parents. The story had taken on a life of its own, but this time I wasn't the villain. I wasn't the punchline. My parents' divorce was finalized in April 2025. 6 months, start to finish. Dad got the house in Naperville. Mom got nothing except her clothes and whatever she could fit in her car. The hidden bank account. Dad's lawyer found it during discovery. The judge was not impressed with Patricia Ferguson's financial deception. She tried to fight it, claimed I'd fabricated everything. Hired a lawyer who argued the evidence was obtained illegally. But Rick Paulson had done everything by the book. Every document was legitimate. Every witness testimony was voluntary. The judge threw out her objections in about 15 minutes. Mom ended up moving to Rockford, 2 hours away. She couldn't show her face in Naperville anymore. Too many people knew. The real estate office let her go, obviously. She bounced between a few retail jobs before landing at a call center doing customer service. I heard all this through Madison, who heard it through Dad. I never asked directly. Honestly, I didn't care anymore. The book club disbanded. Too much drama. Too many fractured friendships. Some of the women felt betrayed by Mom. Others felt betrayed by me for airing everything so publicly. I understood. What I did wasn't clean or pretty. It was messy and painful, and it shattered a lot of illusions. But it was true. And sometimes truth is more important than comfort. Madison and I rebuilt our relationship slowly. It took months of difficult conversations, therapy sessions together, her apologizing for years of complicity, for choosing Mom's approval over defending me, for that look of pity that had cut deeper than any insult. "I was jealous of you," she admitted one night over coffee in March. We were at a Starbucks in Oak Park, neutral territory. Mom always compared us, and I became addicted to being the good one. But that meant you had to be the bad one. And I let it happen. I participated in it. "I'm so sorry, Zoey." I cried. She cried. We hugged in that Starbucks while college students studied around us, probably thinking we were dramatic. Now we talk 3 times a week. Real talks. Sister talks. She broke up with Brandon, actually. Said the engagement felt like another performance for Mom's approval rather than something she actually wanted. She's dating a high school teacher now named Marcus. Different Marcus. Sweeter Marcus. I like him. Dad retired in May and moved to Boulder, Colorado to be near his brother. He calls me every Sunday morning. We talk about his model ships, his hiking adventures, the mountains. He sounds happy. Really happy. Sometimes he mentions he should have left Mom 20 years ago, that he wasted too much of his life being comfortable instead of courageous. "But watching you stand up like that," he told me last month, "that gave me permission to do the same. So thank you, Zoey. I never expected my revenge to free him too. But I guess that's how truth works. It breaks chains you didn't even know were there." Angela Martinez and I meet for coffee once a month. She's become something like a mentor. She and David are doing well. Their kids are thriving. She told me that exposing everything, as painful as it was, actually brought them closer. No more secrets. No more wondering. Just truth and rebuilding. "You gave us closure," she said. "We got to confront her. Got to tell her exactly what she did to us." That's rare. Most people never get that. The video from last year, the Thanksgiving one that started all this, eventually got deleted. Twitter took it down after I filed multiple reports showing it was being used to harass me. But it doesn't matter anymore. That girl in the video, humiliated and broken, isn't me anymore. I got promoted at work in August. Senior digital marketing strategist. Significant raise. My boss told me she'd never seen someone work as hard as I did. I didn't tell her it was because I'd learned that the best revenge is living well. And I did something else. Something I'd been thinking about for months. I closed on a condo in Lincoln Park in September. 2 bedrooms. Exposed brick walls. Floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of the city skyline. Hardwood floors. A kitchen big enough to actually cook in. It's mine. Completely mine. No roommates. No toxic parents. No shame. Just space that belongs to me. Madison helped me move in. Dad flew back from Colorado for the housewarming party. Angela and David came. Aunt Carol brought a ridiculous amount of food. My coworkers showed up with wine. It was perfect. Standing in my living room, surrounded by people who actually loved me, I realized something important. For 28 years, I'd been trying to earn my mother's approval. Trying to be thin enough, successful enough, perfect enough. And it was never going to happen because the problem wasn't me. It was her. She was broken in ways I couldn't fix. Hollow in ways I couldn't fill. And spending my life trying to earn love from someone incapable of giving it was the real tragedy. Letting go of that was the actual freedom. Mom sends me emails every few months. Always the same themes. I'm cruel and vindictive. I destroyed her life over nothing. She was just trying to help me improve myself. The video was tough love. I'm ungrateful. Disrespectful. A terrible daughter. I have a folder for them now. Patricia's delusions. I don't read past the first line anymore. Just file them away. Maybe someday I'll need them for something. Maybe not. Either way, they don't hurt anymore. Because here's what I learned through all of this. Some people will never see themselves clearly. They'll rewrite history to make themselves the victim. They'll blame everyone else for consequences they created. They'll die believing they were misunderstood rather than admit they were wrong. My mother is one of those people, and I'm completely okay with that. Last week, I started planning this year's Thanksgiving. November 2025. 2 years after the video. I'm hosting again, but this time it'll be different. Madison and her boyfriend Marcus. Dad's flying in from Colorado. Aunt Carol and her husband. Angela and David and their kids. Rick Paulson, who's become an unexpected friend. My boss and a few coworkers who've become genuine friends. About 15 people total. People who see me. People who love me. People who prove that family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about who shows up, who stays, who tells the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. There won't be any secret recordings this time. No ambushes. No revenge plots. Just good food, honest conversation, and gratitude for the life I've built from the ashes of the one my mother tried to burn down. Madison asked me last week if I regret it, if I think I went too far, if I wish I'd handled it differently. I thought about it for a long time before answering. No, I finally said. She humiliated me when I was setting the table. So I set a different kind of table. One where the truth was the main course. And honestly, it was the best Thanksgiving I've ever had. People ask me all the time now, especially online when versions of my story circulate, what advice I'd give to others dealing with toxic parents. What I'd tell someone whose mother made them feel worthless, whose family dynamics are poisoned by narcissism and manipulation. Here's what I tell them: you don't owe anyone your suffering. Not even family. Especially not family. Blood relation doesn't give someone permission to abuse you. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is walk away. Or in my case, expose the truth and let the chips fall where they may. Will some people call you vindictive? Yes. Will some people say you went too far? Absolutely. Will your abuser play the victim and convince others you're the villain? Probably. But you'll be free. And freedom is worth the cost. I sleep through the night now. Don't wake up with anxiety attacks anymore. Don't check my phone compulsively to see if I'm trending for the wrong reasons. Don't feel that familiar knot of dread in my stomach when I think about family gatherings. I'm 29 now. Single, but okay with it. Focused on my career and my friendships, and my beautiful condo in Lincoln Park. Dating casually. No rush. I'm learning to trust again, to let people in without waiting for betrayal. Yesterday, I was setting the table for a dinner party. Just a few friends coming over. And I caught myself in the mirror above my dining table. For a second, I saw that girl from 2 years ago. Bent over the table. Being recorded. Being mocked. And then I saw who I am now. Standing straight. Smiling. Free. I raised my wine glass to my reflection. We made it, I whispered. And we did. My mother can't hurt me anymore. The video is gone. The shame is gone. The desperate need for her approval is gone. What remains is just me, Zoey Ferguson, 29 years old, survivor, truth teller, free woman.